Pokemon loves to take baby steps towards innovation. Hey look guys, we finally made the jump to 3D. Look guys, we stopped using a grid-based map. Hey guys, you can move the camera for 1/3 of the game. This all changed when they dropped Pokemon Legends Arceus, the biggest step forward the series had seen since, well, ever. If you watch my review, you'll know I really liked PLA. It took the core mechanics of Pokemon and reimagined them with a modern spin. We can manually throw Pokeballs and other items to catch Pokemon, turning a once stale catching system into an engaging encounter. Pokemon would actually put up a fight outside a battle either by running away or straight up attacking the trainer. It wasn't perfect, but it was a huge step in the right direction. I don't see these changes as Legends exclusive features. I see them as the first steps towards the future of the franchise. If they took what worked from this game and continued to expand on it, we'd be looking at a near perfect Pokemon game. I was hoping they'd drop some DLC before putting some real time into Gen 9. I'm talking about a 4 to 6 year dev cycle. Since 2016, we've gotten Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, Let's Go, Sword and Shield DLC, Sinnoh remakes, and Pokemon Legends Arceus. Like guys, relax, we're good. We need to give Game Freak time to make their masterpiece. Give them time to make an amazing Pokemon game that reaches the potential I know this series has. Or you could keep the cash cow flowing and drop Gen 9 a few months later. Yeah, let's just completely forget about your best game. No, that's fine. This looks interesting. We've got a fully open world. Nice. I like that they're going for a more tropical setting. Shout out Alola. The graphics look pretty alright. Otherwise, this first teaser didn't give us much. A few months passed, and aside from the multiplayer, I'm still not seeing anything noteworthy. Everything that made Legends great was gone. Not a deal breaker, but it's definitely a huge loss. When the game was close to release and early reviews came in, my interest was at an all-time low. Honestly, I was just gonna skip it. But then I remembered, oh yeah, thousands of people watched me ask for this exact game. Who am I to just skip it? So I asked y'all if I should just bite the bullet and try it out. You answered predictably, so here we are. 40 hours later, and this game is complicated. There's a lot to like, but the bottom line is Scarlet and Violet are another in a long line of Pokemon games that didn't need to come out when they did. The effects of its rushed development are felt all throughout the game, even when you ignore the bugs and poor performance. We have a game that, in a post-Legends world, fails to innovate and fails to leave the impact you'd expect from the first open-world Pokemon game. The game pretty much plays the same as every other Pokemon game. As I said, everything from Legends Arceus is gone. No more real-time catching, no more moving during battle, Pokemon don't attack you, you can't throw items, you can't dodge roll, so they pretty much patched out the fun. I get it, these were made by different teams on different timelines. They're not gonna have the same features. It's not like the old gameplay is necessarily bad, but tell me I'm wrong for missing the changes that breathe so much life into the series. Development history aside, from a gameplay perspective, going from this to this is a straight up downgrade. And I'm gonna be judging Scarlet and Violet from that perspective. Things like this wouldn't be a problem if they weren't dead set on pumping out yearly entries, or in this case, 3 mainline games in a year. Not once did it occur to them that maybe Scarlet and Violet could use some more time in the oven. We just dropped 2 massively successful games, let's get these guys a little more time. Nope, we gotta get it in for the holiday release. We gotta chase that Christmas bag. And you know what? I don't even blame them. These games will sell either way. Scarlet and Violet sold 10 million copies in 3 days, becoming the fastest selling Nintendo game in history. It's since gone to sell more than twice that. So yeah, Pokemon Company probably isn't rethinking the release schedule anytime soon. I know I'm probably not helping at all by buying and playing the game, but remember, y'all convinced me to buy this. This is on you. Even compared to Sword and Shield, this game's missing a few things. There's no more fishing, no more shaking trees to collect berries, we can't sit on benches, there's no battle tower, just minor stuff that would have made the gameplay a bit more involved. Thankfully, there are a few new features. It'd be weird if there wasn't. Pokemon Camp is replaced by Pokemon Picnic. Ooh. It's the same thing except it takes place right there in the overworld. In fact, everything takes place in the overworld. Wild battles, trainer battles, gym battles, evolutions. No more of these immersion breaking pocket dimensions. Everything's right there in the overworld. Nice. You can even have your Pokemon follow you. This is such a dope feature. Yo, why is my Talonflame with over 100 base speed struggling to keep up with me? Oh, I see. They're using the Sword and Shield following mechanics. Oh, yeah, please stop using this. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It makes me just not want to send them out. In fact, I barely did. If you're gonna include a feature, try to make sure it works properly. But I can forgive it. Because these guys finally added something I've been asking for since I first played PokeMMO. That's right, we finally got multiplayer. It's been a core part of the Pokemon series since Red and Blue, and now we can finally explore the entire region with a group of friends. I still consider PokeMMO the most fun I've ever had with Pokemon, if not second only to PLA. So yeah, I was pretty hyped for this. And yeah, it works. You can see each other in the open world, you can watch laggy versions of their wild battles, you can battle each other, but it takes you to the schoolyard instead of letting you do it in real time. You can do raid battles. Oh, you can picnic together. Yeah, it feels pretty half-baked. There's not much to do aside from mess around. It's a very make your own fun type of feature. And it was, I just wish the game did a little more with it. I'm glad they finally got the ball rolling on multiplayer, but hopefully future games try to make it more of a focus. Have some multiplayer exclusive dungeons, let us fight hordes of wild Pokemon together, let us do some double battles, let us watch each other's gym battles, let us trade each other money. And if you really wanted to embrace multiplayer, you could make it an MMO. Chill, I'm joking. But imagine exploring the Pokemon world, encountering real people, using proximity chat to talk to nearby players. They can give some advice, negotiate trades, talk crap during battle. I played enough multiplayer games to know it wouldn't be the wholesome experience I described, but you know, what if? Alright, let's stop beating around the bush. We all know why you're here. The feature we've been waiting years for. Open world Pokemon. I've been a long time advocate for an open world Pokemon game. I love the idea of exploring the map at your own pace, going wherever you want, whenever you want, forging your own path towards adventure. I find it a lot more fun to explore when I'm not forced on a set path. Pokémon, a series about leaving home and traveling the world to catch monsters, would feel right at home in the open world setting. It's exciting to think about, but the way it's handled here leaves a lot to be desired. Paldea is shaped like a circle, or I guess more like a donut. You start in the middle and the content is spread around the map, able to be approached in any order you want. I like that, no more linear progression. It's pretty much one big wild area, which is exactly what I wanted. Or so I thought. A big problem with Paldea's map design is that it does very little to encourage discovery. Right from the start, you know where every gym, town, titan, raid den, and Starfall Strait is located. You're not given a chance to discover this stuff for yourself. Yeah, past games do the same thing, but those weren't open world, a genre defined by its emphasis on player discovery. Most games will slowly reveal the map as you travel, usually through towers or mini challenges, giving you a chance to explore an area before you have a detailed bird's eye view of it. I don't see why they had to tell us where everything was. Were they afraid kids wouldn't be able to figure it out? Maybe I'd understand if the map was Zelda size, but the map is relatively small, and the routes aren't complex at all. A kid could easily figure this out. If it's a pacing issue, maybe make it so that the world isn't devoid of content outside these 3 main quests. But let me chill, I'm getting ahead of myself. This doesn't completely kill the exploration, but it definitely makes it less exciting. I do like how the geography seamlessly blends all the towns, caves, and Pokemon. Nothing feels out of place. The towns aren't representing bigger, more fleshed out areas. What you see is what you get. If you can see it, you can go to it. But that leads to another problem. Paldea is boring. It's probably the most bland region we've had so far. There is nothing, and I mean nothing in this game that makes you go, ooh, I want to go there. We've got the basic grassy fields, snowy mountains, sandy desert, there's like one forest, a few empty caves. It's pretty standard stuff. Aside from towns, there are no meaningful points of interest. For the most part, you're just slogging around the overworld. Maybe you'll catch a Pokemon, fight someone, you might even do one of these raids, but none of it is that fun. The raids are painfully easy, and you don't even have to fight trainers. The most fun thing is catching Pokemon, but it's just not as engaging as it was in Legends. If I want to catch a Pokemon, I'll go do it in a game that did it much better. Sure, you've got the main quest lines, but there's no engaging side quests to flesh out the world and make it more exciting. Just imagine for a second. Come on, close your eyes. Actually open them, I'll help you visualize it. Just imagine. You're midway into your adventure. You're on a route somewhere, looking for the next town, when suddenly you come across a misty forest. You walk through and it's almost like a maze. Luckily, there's a few trainers who are willing to show you the way if you beat them in battle. Eventually, you make your way through and you find this old abandoned house with ghost Pokemon around every corner. As you explore, you're given the backstory of the people who lived here. Maybe you'll catch some Pokemon, you'll solve some puzzles, you'll do some exploring. Eventually, you're brought to the basement where a giant houndstone jumps out and attacks you. Whether you catch it or not, you leave the house with a few new items, some XP, and a better understanding of Paldea and the people that live here. This is the type of stuff that'll stick with the player. Optional side missions that add to that sense of adventure. If that scenario sounds familiar, it should. It's happened in tons of past games, whether it's a haunted house, an electrical plant, or a SS Anne. Paldea has nothing like that. In fact, you can't even enter most buildings. What you see is what you get. Even the most interesting locations on the map, the towns and cities, are all in plain sight. You never have to do more than just walk to them. them. I'm not saying every town needs these ultra complex routes leading up to it. I'm just saying if you're gonna reveal where everything is, at least make the journey there an exciting one. Sword and Shield had these really bland, boring routes, just trainer, item, Pokemon, and boom, you're at the next town. Scarlet and Violet proved that opening those routes up doesn't fix the problem. Now all we have are a bunch of empty areas stringing together towns. Legends was also pretty empty at times, but it made up for it with a very engaging gameplay loop that's built with open areas in mind. Scarlet and Violet has no reason to have such big areas. Catching Pokemon is as simple as lowering their health and having a bit of luck. When you remove all the legend stuff and lose the interesting design of more linear routes, what do we have? A bunch of bland, empty areas. But what about the towns? Maybe they can make up for the lackluster overworld. Well, you might be surprised to hear that no, they don't. But before I talk about that, let me talk up the ones I actually liked. Paldea is based off Spain, so a lot of the towns are inspired by Spanish culture. Mesa Goza makes that Spanish influence shine, and it's appropriately huge. This really feels like a grand metropolis with people and Pokemon everywhere. Most of the content is in the school, in fact, all of it is. But it's more than some of these other towns have in their entirety. It just feels great to finally explore a Pokemon city fully realized in 3D. Look, I love Legends Arceus, but I've always liked the more urban fantasy vibe that comes from the more traditional games. There's something about the contrast of exploring a normal looking city with a pet dragon by your side that's weirdly cool to me. Levincia is also pretty good. It doesn't have much content aside from the gym, like all these towns, but again, it's just fun to explore this huge city. I like how at night you can see the lights peering out of the city, begging you to come check it out. And yeah, that's it. My weird affinity for big cities kind of carry the other two. The rest range from alright to pretty bad. I'm not even sure this is a town. A lot of these look cool and have a great aesthetic, but that's all they have. Once you beat the gym, there is nothing to actually do here. Back in Kanto, there was a whole town dedicated to exploring the Pokemon Tower. Vermilion City had a whole cruise ship. It had stuff to make your time in the town feel meaningful. In Scarlet and Violet, you're just hopping from town to town, checking off each gym and heading to the next. Very few of them leave any type of impact. It doesn't help that this game doesn't look that great. So Scarlet and Violet went for a more realistic art style. The Pokemon undoubtedly look better. Before they looked like balloon animals, like if you just stuck a needle in one, it just pop. Now they actually look like organic creatures. These updated textures do wonders. I hate the trainer designs, but the models themselves aren't bad. Nah, the problem with this game's visuals is pretty much everything else. Yup, it's time to talk about that elephant in the room. It's time to talk about the graphics. Graphics, yeah. Sometimes this game looks decent. In fact, some of the towns and routes look pretty good for the Switch. It's just that most of the time, this map is an eyesore. Low res textures, texture warping, bad lighting problems, pop-in, the frame rate, god, the frame rate. It's some of the worst I've ever experienced. It dips below 30 FPS constantly. NPCs further than 5 yards run at 2 FPS. This is some Roblox Potato Mac type quality. Trust me, I would know. I ran both Project Pokemon and Brick Bronze back in the day. Y'all know me, I'm not the type to care that much about graphics or performance, but this is a whole new level of bad. How am I supposed to get immersed in your world when the game looks this undercooked? This is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth game on Switch, and they still don't know how to optimize for the console. Meanwhile, Zelda made a bigger, better looking game for a console that wasn't even out yet during development. The Switch isn't the problem. Well, it's not the only problem, but the Switch is home to plenty of great looking games. It's a lack of polish stemming from a lack of development time, a problem that has plagued the last few games and continues to plague this one. This is unacceptable for a AAA game, and it should be an important part of the conversation surrounding these games. But we can't let this be the loudest complaint in the room. This game has a lot of problems that would still be here even if it released in perfect condition. Problems that are arguably more important than graphics and performance, at least to me. So I'm mostly gonna focus on those. But yeah, Scarlet and Violet has some of the least inspired world design I've ever seen, made worse by the awful graphical quality and poor performance. So far, the first open world Pokemon game isn't doing so great. Maybe the main quest can turn things around, and I really hope it does, because I don't like being this negative. I feel kinda mean, I don't know. Then I remember I spent over $120 on this game, and suddenly that feeling fades. Let's continue. The main quest lines include the Gym Challenge, Starfall Street, and Path of Legends. That last one sounds a lot cooler than it is, but let's start with the gyms. Scarlet and Violet's Gym Challenge had a lot of potential from the start. In most games, you can just go up to a gym, send out a Pokemon who's good against the gym's type, and you have yourself a guaranteed win. This game's new gimmick, Terastallization, could have fixed it. If you don't know, Terastallization lets you change your Pokemon's type in a rush of crystal glory. I didn't use it that much, but I was excited to see how it'd be used for gyms. You could have the leader's type change into something that's strong against types commonly used against it. So a fire type gym could have a Pokemon with a grass terror type to resist water and rock types. So let me give you a bit of context. I spent the first half of this game in a Nuzlocke. Y'all are Pokemon fans, you know what that is. My first gym was grass, which I thought was a decent challenge. It had a Sudowoodo with a grass terror type. So in a way, they did use Terastallization in an interesting way. Pokemon that looked like they'd belong to a certain type could fight along alongside Pokemon that are actually that type, like Altaria for Ice or Florges for Psychic, but you can still just bum rush the gym with a single Pokemon, so what did we really accomplish here? It's a shame all these regional gimmicks never get used outside the game they're introduced, so I doubt this concept will ever be revisited, which makes terrestrialization feel like nothing more than a giant missed opportunity. But by far the worst problem with the gym challenge is the pacing. My gym order was Grass, Electric, Bug, Ice, Normal, Water, Ghost, Psychic. Those first two gyms were actually a fun challenge. I really enjoyed those. It wasn't until I reached the Bug gym when I realized this game had no level scaling of any kind. Then I fought the Ice gym and it was a challenge, but I still beat it first try without any deaths. It was at this point I got really curious, so I looked at the real gym order and I was disappointed to learn that the gym I just fought was supposed to be the last gym in the game. From that point on, every gym was a cakewalk. It felt like I was going down a list and checking off gyms as I beat them. It got extremely boring. Please stop cheering. The fight is not that deep, guys. How hard is it to scale the levels proportionately to your badge count? I'm really asking because this is the significant issue that butchers the pacing of the game. This is a turn-based game. The fun comes from coming up with strategies to overcome challenges. When there's no challenge, there's no fun. It just comes down to picking the best attack and watching the fight play out. That's 90% of the battles in this game. Fights in general are so much slower than they were in PLA. All those unnecessary pauses in between attacks and status effect changes are back in full force. Just another quality of life feature completely removed. I know I should really stop comparing this to other games, but how can I not when Pokémon made the gym challenge so much more fun? They lowered the level caps, made the gyms more aggressive, and they raised the levels. I'm on my knees begging Game Freak, please, please, please give us a hard mode. Pause, but please, you have no idea how much better these games would be if they were harder. I haven't even talked about these terrible gym quests. Seriously, how did this get past playtesting? It's literally just 5 minutes of pressing buttons to annoying music. The lack of level scaling kills any potential the open world had left. And it's not just the gym challenge, nothing scales to your progression. To get a semi-decent level curve, you're forced to play in a specific order, which goes against the point of an open world. Okay. Starfall Street. Team Star is this game's evil team, and they're just as unimportant as Team Yell. They're school bullies, except they're not, except they are, except they aren't, except they I don't care. They barely appear outside the streets, so who cares? Since trainer battles are no longer forced on you, maybe Team Star could have been this annoying group that hunt you down and forcefully battle you in the open world. Not only motivating you to take them down, but also to give them more presence outside these 5 camps. As for the Starfall missions themselves, they're really boring. It forces you to use this new Go feature, one that lets you send out Pokemon and have it attack automatically. It's fine for gaining some extra XP, but am I the only one who thinks it's not that fun to watch your Pokemon fight? Starfall Street has you send out 3 of your Pokemon and watch as they one-shot everyone in the camp. It's not very engaging or fun. After that, you meet the camp leader and you fight a giant truck. It's kind of like a gym. Each camp has a designated type. Like every fight in the game, the fun depends on the difficulty. I didn't find any of these that difficult, but my friend was over here struggling, so maybe that's just me. Either way, once I reached a certain point, these just weren't that fun. I was hoping Starfall Street would be the multiplayer focused questline the game was sorely lacking, but no, it's just there. Finally, we've got the Path of Legends, 5 supersized Pokemon scattered around the map for you to fight. I'm a huge fan of that idea. Hunting down rare Pokemon is one of the most fun parts of the series. Having a questline focused on finding certain Pokemon has a lot of potential, but as usual, I didn't like the execution. First off, you know exactly where every Titan is at the start of the game. The sense of discovery is completely gone. And second, the encounters themselves aren't that exciting. Whenever you're close to one, Arven will call you and let you know you're close to one. Thanks, Arven, it's not like I can see it on the map. Then you start fighting the boss, it goes down in a few hits, and the battle's over. You can't even catch it. As much as I miss the more action-focused bosses of Legends Arceus, we don't need action elements to have an exciting encounter. Just look at Mewtwo, the legendary birds, Ultra Beasts, the forces of nature in PLA, even the birds of the Crown Tundra. The fun came from trying to seek out and catch these mythical creatures. I get that these aren't legendaries or mythicals. These are just supersized versions of normal Pokemon, ones that were only meant to be fought. But my point still stands. If you're gonna have a questline focused on encountering Pokemon, you should learn from the best. When you take away the fun of discovery, take away the action, remove the difficulty, and don't even let us catch the thing we're fighting, what's really left to enjoy? It's no more than a glorified wild encounter, which can be fun if it's challenging, but as you can predict, most of them weren't. When we stop and look at everything the game has to offer, from a gameplay perspective, the only thing this game has going for it is the fact that it's a Pokemon game, so the gameplay loop is inherently fun for me. But this game proved that a strong gameplay loop can only go so far if the content isn't that fun. I was very disappointed by the gameplay here. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the first dozen and hours. Every Pokemon game starts off strong, and this is no different. We were just hopping from mission to mission, having a great time. I loved how everything was open. I could really go wherever I wanted. It was early game, so the challenge was pretty on point. I was ready to call this game a decent first attempt at an open world, but once the cracks start showing, they don't stop. You find out that the world just isn't that fun to explore. You can't enter buildings, there's no dungeons, no puzzles, no hidden routes. It's open, but it's empty. I guess what I'm asking for are more condensed routes. Keep the open world, still let us go wherever we want, but make some of the routes less open so you can still fill it with interesting design. As for the main quests, the main thing killing them is the lack of level scaling. If you're gonna have an open world turn-based game, the challenge has to scale to your progression. It takes some time to implement, surely, but if you can fix the pacing, it's more than worth it. Otherwise, just fill the world with interesting stuff for us to interact with. Stuff to flesh out the world a little bit and make our journey a little more exciting. Real quick before I talk about the story, I want to talk about the music. Well, it's a Pokemon game. The soundtrack is great. When you're just walking around, the music is more chill, more relaxed. Then you enter a battle and it's like, then you hop on Koraidon and it's like, it's nice to finally hear dynamic music in a Pokemon game. I love Pokemon's battle music, but I will admit it was always a little out of place. You'd have this bombastic battle music cut in and out every 30 seconds. I think adaptive music is the way to go, at least for wild battles. Music has a crazy effect on me. I could be running through the most uninspired, empty areas, but when I'm listening to this, suddenly, it feels a little less empty. Game Freak always outdo themselves on the soundtrack. They managed to give each region a unique musical style. Paldea obviously has a lot of Spanish influence visually, but the soundtrack also takes a lot of cues from Spanish culture, and it sounds awesome. I don't know much about music analysis, so it's hard to critique further than it sounds good, but I can always tell there's a lot of love put into these soundtracks, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So yeah, what a surprise. A Pokemon game has an amazing soundtrack. What else is new? Let's talk about something less obvious. The story. Scarlet and Violet's story was really weird, and I kinda liked it. Before I say anything else, you should know that the presentation is still really boring. Legends Arceus and pretty much every 3D Pokemon game has this problem too. I'll take cutscenes with crappy animation and corny voice acting over these stale walls of dialogue any day. How you present your story is just as, if not more important than the story itself. This game especially feels like it should have had voice acting. There will be scenes where the characters' mouths will move as if they're talking, but they're just not. It's so weird. You got all the money in the world. Just please hire some voice actors. We should be way past this. I want full voice acting for Gen 10, and don't be afraid to include more animated cutscenes. I love the few we get. They're only brought down by, again, the lack of voice acting. Alright, let's get into the story itself. The story starts as they all do. You're a kid who wants the Pokemon, so you go and get a Pokemon. You're given the choice between Sprigatito, Fuecoco, and Quaxly. These designs are really great. Hopefully their evolutions are the same. I already had my eyes on Quaxly ever since the reveal, but my choice was solidified when I saw his opening animation. He sits the cat down and stops Fuecoco from eating a burnt apple. This duck is bossy. He's just like me for real. I name him Dewey and we set off on our journey. Just kidding. There's an hour of tutorial left. This is a Pokemon game after all. We meet one of our 3 rivals, Nemona. Nemona is one of the better rivals we've gotten. Turns out you don't have to be a jerk to be a cool rival. She's written as this battle-obsessed trainer, but unlike all the others, they just go all the way with it, to the point where it's kind of funny. She's like genuinely obsessed with battling. It's all she talks about. Maybe it's the fact that she only stops you after some gyms, so she's inherently less annoying than Hop, who just talk. Don't get me started on Hop, bro. Just don't. Point is, Nemona isn't nearly as annoying. Eventually, we find the superior box art legendary, Koraidon, slumped on a beach. And I love him. He's like a little puppy who likes sandwiches. He can sprint, climb, swim, and glide around the map, essentially taking the place of ride Pokemon. Y'all know how I feel about this feature. I think we should be riding our own Pokemon. Obviously, we shouldn't be able to fly around the entire map 20 minutes into the game after catching a Pidgeotto, so you have to unlock some sort of flying license before you can do that. Same goes for swimming and climbing. I don't think I need to explain why riding around on your own Pokemon would be really cool. cool. But on the other hand, Crydon kinda is our Pokemon. We don't get to fight with him, but he is ours to keep. So in a way, I kinda get what I want. I definitely prefer this over switching to a bunch of different rent Pokemon. They really need to do more of these box art legendaries that are actually part of your adventure. It makes them so much more memorable. Again, shout out Alola. And just one last thing regarding ride Pokemon. I know it doesn't really matter, but does anyone find a weird joy in just riding a bike in Pokemon? Like, I think most people will agree it's not as cool as riding a pet dragon or a fire unicorn. But I don't know, there's just something about it. It might have something to do with that urban fantasy stuff I was talking about earlier. Anyways, moving on. We meet this Arven character with mommy issues and some sort of connection to Crydon. His mom is the game's professor, Professor Sada, someone we never actually see in person. We become a student at Naranja Academy. Almost every character, including us, has this crappy school outfit. Y'all had the most in-depth character creation we've seen in a Pokemon game and then decided to give us 4 clothing options, none of which look good. I don't get it. Was this supposed to make us feel like we're at a strict private school with a dress code? But we spend 95% of the game outside the school, so what? It's not even like it's 4 completely different designs. They're all pretty much the same thing. A lot of characters wear some variation of the school uniform, which really hinders the potential for cool character designs. But whatever, Game Freak, you do you, bro. We show up to the school and this red-haired girl is getting harassed by some students. We stop them and we learn they're actually part of Team Star, who are supposedly a misunderstood group of bullies. One thing leads to another and we're given the main quest by the 3 different characters. Nemona wants us to do the gym challenge, Arven wants us to find the Herba Mystica, and Cassiopeia, ooh, I wonder who that is. Definitely not the only other character we ran into. Ooh. She wants us to take down Team Star. But before that, it looks like Dewey wants to evolve. Alright, let's see what we got. He's just like me for real. Ugh, why does he walk like that? Alright, moving on. The gym challenge has very little story. It's mostly just you going from gym to gym with Nemona and a couple of Elite Four members popping up every now and then. The Elite Four and Champion don't matter at all. That's something I thought Sword and Shield did right. Leon was a real champion. He had style. He had his own dance. Leon had a real presence in the story, and his fight had this sense of excitement and hype behind it. Champion Geeta has none of this. I barely knew who she was before I fought her, and I instantly forgot about her after becoming champion. She's easily one of the most forgettable champions in the series. Nemona is the true final boss of this story. She sets up her fight with a cute cutscene that sets the tone well, and the fight was actually hard. I even had to terrestrialize my duck to finish her off. Moving on to the Starfall Street storyline, and I gotta say, it's really weird. Team Star has set up camps around Paldea, and it's our job to break in and defeat each of the camp's leaders. One of these 5 interestingly dressed individuals. I'm guessing they designed them this way to reference how teens usually dress in weird ways to, you know, stand up to authority and stuff. So in that sense, I kinda like it, but these are still very goofy. I'm glad they didn't just give them slightly altered school outfits and called it a day. That would have been pretty boring. These 5 are led by Cassiopeia, which makes you wonder why she wants to shut down her own crew. Oh yeah, and this old guy is stalking us and trying to pass off as a teenager. Make of that what you will. After clearing a base, we get these flashback cutscenes, and somehow my friend transcends time itself because he's in the background of a lot of these. They're sick of being bullied and the school doesn't really care, so they formed Team Star to fight back. Sounds pretty accurate. One day they decide enough is enough, so they pull up to the school and fight the people who were mean to them. Eventually, Team Star gained a reputation for harassing other students, becoming the very thing they were created to fight. So of course now the school pays attention and they give Team Star the option to disband or leave the school. After taking down one of the bases, Cassiopeia sends us some Bitcoin and sends Penny over to give us some materials. The Bitcoin is pretty much just Poké Dollars with extra steps, but these materials can be used to craft TMs. I never really used this because the game was extremely easy, but it's a cool feature either way. It's a lot more involved than just receiving a TM. After we clear all the bases, Cassiopeia asks us to meet her at the school. So we make our way there and we're interrupted by the old stalker guy, and it turns out that he's actually Cassiopeia. Whoa. Just kidding, it's Penny. She's the last thing keeping Team Star alive and she wants us to defeat her and end Team Star once and for all. So we do, and we get one last cutscene for this story. The leaders come out of nowhere like it's a drug intermission, and they don't actually know Penny outside of the Cassiopeia moniker, so it's kind of like an awkward reunion with someone they've never actually met. They're getting all emotional and I'm just standing here kind of awkwardly. So the old guy allows Team Star to stay together. Penny gets arrested for pirating Bitcoin and we all live happily ever after. Most of the Starfall Street story is told through vague flashbacks, and it's not nearly as engaging enough to stay interesting. Like I said, these scenes are very flat. There's no voice acting, no interesting cinematography, it's just walls and walls of text while characters stand there doing their little stock animations. It's a fine little plot, but the way it's told kinda kills it for me. Arven's story has us take down these titans and steal their Herba Mystica to upgrade our dragon bike. He needs them to heal his sick dog, and crap, they got me with the sick dog, so now I have to help him. So we do, and Arven tells me about Area Zero, this giant crater in the middle of the map. His mom, the game's professor, went down there for research and never returned. Eventually we save his dog, and instead of letting him rest, he instantly battles me with it. I'm not gonna lie, I lost to Arven like 5 times. There's no greater shame than getting your no death run ended by this square. Why was Arven harder than the freaking champion? Okay, laugh it up. I know I said the game was easy, but there were a few fights that were kind of difficult. The difficulty curve is non-existent, but hey, I'll take it. A hard battle is a fun battle. But why are we battling in the first place? Well, Arven's mom asked us to come down to Area Zero. Arven wants to battle to see if we're up to the task. After the fight, he decides we need 2 more people, a strong trainer and someone who's good with computers. So we find Nimona and bail Penny out of prison. You can absolutely tell these 3 were not meant to be friends. Everyone just hates Nimona for no reason. Arven calls her a little pest and Penny says she talks too much. But honestly, I love the character interactions. They're probably the best part of the story for me. I'm glad they didn't just go for the basic, oh, everyone's nice and happy with each other. Like, nah, these 3 are completely different people. They're not gonna get along right away. After all that banter, we hop on Crydon and make our way to the great crater of Paldea, Area Zero. I told you, music has a crazy effect on me. Who made this track? Toby Fox? Y'all got Toby Fox in the studio? Bro, the atmosphere here is insane. The geography is actually interesting too. They got the waterfalls leading down to the crystal cavern, and for once we're not told exactly where to go. Is this place actually kind of fun to explore? While we look for the labs, Nimona, Penny, and Arven start going on about something. There's no voice acting and I'm kind of trying to explore here, so I'm just gonna tune these guys out. We find these paradox Pokemon, past relatives of well-known Pokemon. It's a cool idea that's kind of wasted on this game. There's like 6 of them and they're all kind of just there. They don't really do anything. I doubt they're ever gonna revisit the idea of time travel, so these all just feel like wasted potential. Maybe the Titans could have been escaped paradox Pokemon or something to give them more weight in the story. Oh yeah, time travel is a thing in this game. You never go back in time, but the box legendaries are supposed to represent the past and the future. Crydon being a dinosaur bike and Miraidon being a more futuristic motorcycle thing. They do nothing with this theming outside of Area Zero, so it feels really random once we get to this point. Eventually we make our way to the bottom and watch Crydon get harassed by another Crydon, showing that he too is a paradox Pokemon. Eventually I make my way into the lab and this is where the story takes a turn. Apparently, Arven's mom, the game's professor, was killed in a lab accident, so she uploaded her consciousness into an AI modeled after her. She wanted to connect the past and the present so that all Pokemon could live in harmony. Obviously, this would have been a bad thing, so Sada's AI wanted to shut down the project, but she needed our help to do it. When we go to shut it down, the AI loses control and begs us to stop her. The fight here is great and the music goes so hard. A great remix of Area Zero with leitmotifs from the main theme. Here, just take a listen. This is a modern video game, so of course there's a phase 2. Sada pulls out her cheat codes and locks all of our Pokeballs. Despite not being able to use any Pokemon, we enter a battle with the Crydon from before. I keep trying to fight, but nothing's working. I try switching Pokemon, but it doesn't work. Looks like there's only one option. Together we take down the other Crydon and Sada dips out to the past. We escape Area Zero, Arven's depressed, Nimona and Penny don't care, credits roll and Ed Sheeran sings about something. Like I said, the story was very weird, but I kinda liked it. Sure, a lot of it is your standard Pokemon story, but by the end it goes completely off the rails. Like, how did we get here? Why are we fighting an AI replica of the game's professor? Why are we trying to shut down a time machine she died to build? What is going on? Like, what does any of this have to do with anything? And yet, I'm more interested in this than anything else in this game's story. I'm not looking for perfection, I just want a memorable story that complements the gameplay. And I'd say the last bits of this story definitely accomplish accomplished that, and everything else was pretty solid. Just improve the presentation and we're on the right track. So you see what I mean, right? There's a lot about Scarlet and Violet I like. The non-linear progression, the seamless blending of gameplay elements, the multiplayer, but it's buried under a sea of unfinished ideas and poor execution. Recently we've gotten a lot of Pokemon games that, with a little more time, could have been something great. Even PLA left me feeling like it could have been more, like it was rushed. I see no reason why we couldn't have delayed Legends to November 2022 and this game to November 2023. They would have been so much better for it and nobody would have complained. I don't know how Game Freak operates, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say they've got 3 years between mainline entries and someone else is doing all the other stuff. Even then, it's obvious Pokemon can't reach its potential with 3 years of development. They need more time. Imagine a fully realized open world filled with tons of side content, hidden routes, and the polish to make it all look great. Imagine a game that takes Legends' more action-oriented mechanics and expands upon it, perfects it, one that nails the difficulty and makes every battle engaging. A game that didn't need to cut corners to hit a deadline. A game that feels like a AAA experience, indicative of the massive amount of sales these games get. Maybe now they'll take some time and DLC for an unfinished game? $35? That's even more than Sword and Shields. They can't keep getting away with this. But again, I can't really blame them. This about to be the first DLC to sell 20 million copies. But why is it like this? Why do we need a new Pokemon thing every single year? Wouldn't you rather wait a few years to get one amazing game instead of a couple of decent ones? Scarlet and Violet are fine. Sword and Shield were fine. I'm just tired of settling for fine when I know this series could be so much more. I think we're long overdue for a groundbreaking Pokemon game, and I can only hope whoever's in charge is thinking the same thing.